Hi, we're coming into the home straight of the Victorian state elections and things are getting hot in the kitchen. Ian Cook, the challenger in the seat of Mulgrave against the Premier Daniel Andrews, is polling, according to exit polls at the early voting polling stations, is polling very well from surveys done by a couple of companies, and it looks like he might even be drawing level with the Premier. Now, exit polling is not necessarily that reliable, but it does give an indicator that things are on the go in the seat of Mulgrave.
Exit polling shows Premier Daniel Andrews is at risk of losing his seat that he has held for the last 2 decades in the upcoming Victorian state election. A sample of people that had already voted indicated Ian Cook had a 14% bigger lead than his competitor Daniel Andrews. Polling agency Redbridge Group says Labor could lose 15 to 25 seats in the election. If Labor fulfills the current prediction of 43 seats, the party would fall 2 seats short of forming a majority government.
According to previous interviews that Ian Cook has held, there is a bit of a move for change. So we're going to watch this with great interest, because Daniel Andrews holds this seat by a margin of about 15.8%, something like that. So it's a fairly safe Labor seat. But curiously, on their how to vote, they've got a lot of blue, not much red. More blue perhaps than the Liberal how to vote. But they're out there with some serious contesters. The Freedom Party of Victoria, Ian Cook as an independent, Family First, and of course the Liberal Party. So those 4 in some sort of alliance might actually preference to put some real pressure on Daniel Andrews. Now, you may have seen the under investigation report on Channel 9 where they looked at the Sludgate affair. Take a quick look at this.
Who get infection can die.
The catering company blamed for the fatal outbreak is shut down.
I've acted out of an abundance of precaution really in closing it.
But tonight we'll take you inside a very different story.
You can't comprehend the pain in which we went through in that moment.
Of a thriving family business destroyed by the government.
It's starting to look like a witch hunt at this point.
And the local council chief's disturbing conflict of interest.
I'd never seen anything like it.
Now, that backstory hasn't hurt Ian Cook. It's given him a profile, a celebrity, if you will, to take his case. It's not right and left, it's right and wrong, a matter of right and wrong, cook or crook, as someone has said. That's an interesting position. So he's not running on party lines, he's running on a moral platform, and it seems to have tapped a nerve. And the interviews that he's had on places like Sky News, here's a quick example.
And markets already know the backstory, already realise that corruption is wrong, and that the levers for that need to be fixed. And it can't ever happen to another small business, not only in the seat of Mulgrave, but anywhere. So overwhelmingly, it is positive. And to be honest, when I started this, I didn't expect anywhere near the support and the
have really helped his campaign. So that independent position that he's had is actually working for him. Perhaps this is a precursor, an indicator of what could happen in this country with the cemented 2-party system, where you get a high-profile independent with a lot of boots on the ground, up to 500 volunteers. I've been told it may be slightly less or maybe even more, but a lot of passion, a lot of interest, and this thing is starting to move. And what we're seeing now is these exit polls, as I mentioned, indicators that the 15.5% margin could come right down. We've called it as around about a 5 or 4% margin, but it just might come back to a line ball. If the 4 collaborators preference and they put pressure on the Labor-Greens alliance, then this could go down right to the wire. What we might be witnessing here coming into the Saturday election in Victoria is something quite monumental. What I want to propose to you is that we can't be looking to the removal of Daniel Andrews or the Liberal Party perhaps providing some sort of panacea or solution. This country has turned its back on God. It has turned its back on the Judeo-Christian ethics, and we need to regenerate those values in this country, hence regen. That's what we do. That's why we're doing this. Ian Cook has said that that people are very, very angry on the streets because they have seen that Daniel Andrews has wanted to remove Christianity from the town square.
All of the Christian vote, all of the Orthodox vote in the area, they literally say they will never forgive him for what they describe as banishing Christ from Victoria for that period of time by closing the churches. There is a lot of ill feeling, and that's within this seat.
But it's not just Daniel Andrews. We've got the Liberal Party recently talking about Renee Heath out of Gippsland, who won pre-selection for her area to represent the Liberal Party. We had just a little while ago Daniel Andrews saying that Andrew Thorburn couldn't run the Essendon Football Club, and now we've got Matthew Guy saying a Christian is not welcome in his party. That's an interesting statement because the Liberal Party prides itself on being a broad church, and as somebody tweeted the other day, it's a broad church provided you don't belong to a church. So we've got a state which has gone through a very dark passage in its social cultural history, and we've got a leader in the Labor Party who has made his position clear about faith and has actually vilified a few people and is promoting an agenda which many would see as anti-God. And we've got the Liberal Party making those statements. If we look to a political solution and a political solution only, we may not get the satisfaction we seek because this is beyond political. This is cultural, social, moral, and so on. Attacks on the family, attacks on our core values and our beliefs is not going to lead to a sustainable community. And any time you bring an attack on the family and you break down culture, the culture turns in on itself, history shows, and the culture will actually ultimately collapse. So here we've got a guy called Ian Cook standing up as an independent. It's fascinating. If he can pull this off, and it's going to, by the indications, it's going to be very, very close. Andrews might come back and win 4 or 5%, hold 4 or 5% and keep the seat. Even if he does, he will be weakened as a leader. So he either keeps the seat strongly, which is not looking likely, keeps the seat with a very low margin, in which case he's weakened, or he gets defeated outright. And if that's the case, who knows what Victorian state politics looks like after the election. What an interesting time. We've got 24, 48 hours to go. This is counting down. Let's keep an eye on it because this is, in my gut, a precursor to what might be going on around the country. It could be, it just could be, a tipping point. Thanks for watching.